As we transition into spring and before livestock producers turn cattle into their summer pastures, selecting this year's fly control program should be considered. A thought to ponder: did your fly control program work for you last year? If it did not, now is the time to reevaluate and possibly choose another method. There are 3 fly species in Nebraska which could economically impact pastured cattle. They are the hornfly, facefly, and stablefly. The hornfly is one of the most important blood-feeding pests of pastured cattle in the United States. The hornfly is a blood-feeding fly that is located on the shoulders, back, sides, and belly region of cattle, and can take more than 30 blood meals per day and only leave the animal when the female deposits eggs in fresh cow manure. The complete life cycle, egg to an adult, can be completed in 10 to 20 days during warm conditions. In Nebraska, where we typically have several generations during the summer, hornfly populations can reach very high levels. With losses estimated about $1 billion annually on a national basis, this can be a very impacting fly to our livestock producers. When hornfly numbers are high, cattle experience annoyance and blood loss. The result may be decreased milk production, reduced weight gains, changes in grazing patterns, and bunching of animals. Significant reduction in calf weaning weights is well documented. Nebraska studies demonstrated calf weaning weights were 10 to 20 pounds higher when hornflies were controlled on the mother cows. Weight gains of yearling cattle can be impacted up to 18%. In addition, hornflies have been implicated in the spread of summer mastitis. The economic injury level for hornflies is 200. An economic injury level is where the impact of the pest, in our case the hornfly, is equal to the cost of treatment. Our goal is to keep hornfly numbers below 200 during the fly season. Well, what does 200 hornflies look like? Well, here we have a 3-inch diameter circle. Within that circle are 200 hornflies. Not too many flies. This animal has 191 hornflies on its left side. And this animal has 589 hornflies, a population level that can be often seen during the month of June in Nebraska. When hornfly infestations are not controlled, they can reach several thousand flies per animal, and in the case of bulls, can exceed 5,000 hornflies. Well, when is the best time to assess hornfly control measures? Our studies indicate between 8 a.m. and 11 a.m. is a good time frame when hornflies will be found on the top line and sides of animals. Assessments conducted in the afternoon will not provide an accurate measurement of your fly control, since many of the hornflies will be found in the belly region of the animal. Let's take a look at some traditional hornfly control methods. The first one is dust bags. Been around for a long time, relatively inexpensive to use, but to achieve maximum effect from this treatment methodology, they should be forced use. If you choose to have a free choice system, expect control will be lessened between 25 and 50%, and this delivery system does not impact stable flies. Oilers and rubs also have been around for a long time, and again, to achieve maximum effect, they should be forced use. Products will have to be reapplied through the fly season. We have a limited number of carriers and a limited number of products available for our use. Animal sprays will provide an immediate impact in reducing hornfly numbers, but must be reapplied through the fly season, and we have a limited number of products available. Oral larvicides and IGR feed-throughs kill developing hornfly larvae in the manure. Steady consumption is necessary, and this delivery system will not impact immigrating hornflies from neighboring herds, and has no impact on stable flies. Pour-ons will also provide an immediate reduction in hornfly numbers and are effective for about 3 weeks, but reapplication is required through the fly season and this system has no effect on stable flies. Insecticide ear tags can be an effective means to control horn flies, relatively inexpensive, and normally applied just once during a fly season. We do have a degree of hornfly resistance in Nebraska to synthetic pyrethroid insecticides, so ear tag rotation is necessary. Unfortunately, this delivery system has no effect against stable flies. Well, to manage insecticide ear tag resistance, we have to change or rotate insecticide classes. Here are the 3 classes of insecticides that are labeled for use in Nebraska. Mist blower sprayer technology has been used widely in dairies and feedlots for many years and quite successfully. And most recently, this delivery system has been taken out into pastures to control the hornfly, facefly, and stablefly. Initial costs can be a little high. Weekly applications will be necessary, and unfortunately we have a limited number of control products for use. Faceflies were first introduced into North America in the 1950s from Europe. Facefly adults closely resemble houseflies except they are slightly larger and darker than the housefly. The facefly is a non-biting fly that feeds on animal secretions, nectar, and dung liquids. There are several hosts, including cattle, horses, and bison. Adult female faceflies typically cluster around the animal's eyes, mouth, and muzzle, causing extreme annoyance. Faceflies are present in the field throughout the summer, with populations usually peaking in late July and August. Faceflies are most numerous along waterways, areas with abundant rainfall, canyons where the canyon floors have trees and shaded vegetation, and in irrigated pasture complexes. Female facefly feeding causes damage to eye tissues, which increases susceptibility to eye pathogens, and they can vector Moraxella bovis, the causal agent of pink eye, which is a highly contagious inflammation of the cornea and conjunctiva of cattle. Controlling faceflies is essential in reducing most pink eye problems. Achieving adequate facefly control can be difficult because of their habit of feeding around the face and the significant time they spend off the animal. Control is maximized when the cattle receive daily insecticide applications by either dust bags, oilers, sprays, or an insecticide-impregnated ear tag or strip. Ear tags and strips should be applied at the label recommended rate. Both cows and calves must be treated if control is to be achieved. Pink eye vaccines are available and should be considered if faceflies and pink eye have been a reoccurring problem. Please check with your local veterinarian about the use of these products in your area. Stable flies are serious pests of feedlots and dairies and of pasture cattle. The stable is a blood-feeding fly that mainly feeding on the front legs of cattle, staying on the animal long enough to complete a blood meal. This female stable fly deposits eggs in spoiled or fermenting organic matter mixed with animal manure, soil, and moisture. The most common developing sites are in feedlots or dairy lots, usually around feed bunks, along edges of feeding aprons, under fences, and along stacks of hay and alfalfa. Grass clippings and poorly managed compost piles also may be the source of stable fly developing. Winter hay feeding sites where hay rings are used can often be a source for larval development through the summer, if the proper moisture is present. The life cycle of the stable fly can take between 14 and 24 days in Nebraska, depending upon weather conditions. While the source of early season stable flies on pasture cattle is not well understood, some probably develop from overwintering larvae. Other early season flies may be migrants from southern locations, but evidence is lacking. Nevertheless, we do know that stable flies can move at least 10 miles or more. Their bite is very painful. Cattle will often react by stomping their legs, bunching at pasture corners, or standing in water to avoid being bitten. Stable flies cause similar weight gain losses to both pasture and confinement cattle. University of Nebraska research recorded a reduction in an average daily gain of 0.44 pounds per head with animals which received no insecticide treatment compared to animals which did receive a treatment. The economic threshold of 5 flies per leg is easily exceeded in Nebraska pastures. The only adult management option available for the control of stable flies on range cattle is the use of animal sprays. Sprays can be applied using low-pressure sprayers or can be applied using a mist blower sprayer. Stable fly larval management may be addressed with sanitation or cleanup of wasted feed at winter feeding sites, which may reduce localized fly development. If sanitation is not possible, these sites may be treated with a larvicide called Neparex. A Nebraska study conducted several years ago found that stable fly populations could be reduced by 72% using a mist blower sprayer. Weekly applications of products will be required to achieve reduction in fly numbers. Well, let's look at some new products and new delivery systems. The Whitetex Corporation introduced a cattle strip to complement the Python insecticide ear tag recently. This strip contains the same active ingredient as the Python ear tag, and the strip is attached to the button side of an existing identification ear tag. In 2014, we looked at combining a Python cattle strip with a Python ear tag for the control of horn flies on pasture cattle. During our 15-week study, the economic injury level of 200 was not exceeded. The overall reduction in horn fly numbers within this study was 88%. The cost of treatment per heifer was $1.50 for the cattle strip and $1.50 for the Python ear tag. Most recently, Whitetex has also introduced an XP820 insecticide strip to complement the XP820 ear tag. This strip also attaches to the button side of an existing identification ear tag. In 2015, we evaluated the combination of a XP820 cattle strip and an XP820 ear tag for the control of horn flies on pasture heifers. During the 15-week study, the economic injury level of 200 was exceeded during week 14, but overall reduction in horn fly numbers was 89%. The cost of treatment per heifer was $2.16 for the ear tag and $1.50 for the XP820 strip. We have monitored the performance of the XP820 ear tag against horn flies for a number of years, and this chart shows the studies over the past 7 years, and during those 7 years of work, we've been able to observe at least a 90% reduction in horn fly numbers in our research studies. So this particular tag is still working very well in Nebraska. Another new delivery system that has been recently developed is the vet gun. This is a CO2 powered delivery system that propels a small capsule containing a synthetic pyrethroid insecticide. In 2015, we looked at this delivery system and we applied it to a small group of cow-calf pairs, only treating the cows. Our first application maintained horn fly numbers below the economic injury level of 200 for 4 weeks. The second application kept horn fly numbers below the EIL for 3 weeks, for an overall reduction in horn fly numbers of 81%. The cost of treatment per cow was $5.24. For current Nebraska control recommendations, please refer to EC 1550, and this can be accessed at entomology.unl.edu/livestock. And when applying any insecticide control product, please read and follow label instructions. If you have additional questions or would like more information on pasture fly control, please give me a call at 308-696-6721 or email me at dboxler1@unl.edu.